From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, June the 10th, 2024. Well, we open today's newscast with the good news we received this weekend. The amazing and daring rescue of 4 hostages by Israeli forces from Gaza on Saturday. 25-year-old Noah Argamani, 21-year-old Almog Meirjan, 27-year-old Andrei Kozlov, and 40-year-old Shlomi Ziv, who were kidnapped by terror group Hamas from the Nova Music Festival during the October 7th massacre and held captive in Gaza for 246 days, were rescued under fire in a highly complex, dangerous daytime operation conducted by the IDF, the Shin Bet, and the Israel Police. Hundreds more IDF soldiers participated in the operation as well. The 4 hostages were held in 2 different locations in Nuseirat in Gaza, Argamani in one location, Jean, Kozlov, and Ziv in another. They were taken by helicopter to Tel HaShomer Sheba Medical Center to undergo medical examinations and to finally be reunited with their families and loved ones. And Argamani was able to later visit her mother, who is dying of cancer. The operation, however, was not without painful loss. 36-year-old Yamam, Israel Police Special Forces Chief Inspector Arnon Zamora, who commanded the rescue team at the building where the 3 male hostages were being held, was critically wounded by Hamas fire during the rescue mission. He was brought to an Israeli hospital but died shortly after. The rescue operation, known originally as Seeds of Summer, has now been renamed in his memory and honor as Operation Arnon. Arnon Zamora also bravely fought Hamas terrorists and saved lives on October the 7th. Thousands came out yesterday to pay their respects to him. Zamora hailed as a hero. The head of the Yamam counter-terror unit saying he was always first. And during the heroic operation he led, he acted with courage and was a model for his fighters. Arnon Zamora leaves behind a wife and 2 children. The IDF and the Shin Bet also confirmed that the 3 male hostages were held by a man listed, it said, on Al Jazeera's website as a reporter and photojournalist. The IDF saying that he is an operative of the Hamas terror organization who kept the abductees Almog Meirjan, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv in his home alongside his family in Nuseirat, a densely populated civilian area. The IDF writing, this is further proof that the terrorist organization Hamas uses the civilian population as a human shield. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the hostage rescue and thanked the Minister of Defense, the IDF Chief of Staff, the Director of the Israel Security Agency, and the team that oversaw the operation, saying on Saturday, the entire nation salutes you and the courageous fighters who today risked their lives in order to save lives. Yet again, you have proven that Israel does not surrender to terrorism and acts with boundless valor and resourcefulness to return home our hostages. We are obligated to do the same in the future. We will not relent until we complete the mission and return all our hostages home, both the living and the deceased. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said, we commend the work of the Israeli security services that conducted this daring operation. The United States is supporting all efforts to secure the release of hostages still held by Hamas, including American citizens. This includes through ongoing negotiations or other means. The hostage release and ceasefire deal that is now on the table would secure the release of all the remaining hostages, together with security assurances for Israel and relief for the innocent civilians in Gaza. This deal, Sullivan said, has the full backing of the United States and has been endorsed by countries from around the world, including the G7, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, the UAE, and Qatar. as well as the 16 countries with their citizens still being held by Hamas. They all must be released now. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken just arrived in Israel today after holding meetings with Egyptian leaders in Cairo. He said this weekend, "I welcome the rescue of 4 hostages who have now been reunited with their families. We will not rest until every hostage is returned home." Blinken met today with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem and later with Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in Tel Aviv, as well as with American-Israeli hostage families. Tomorrow, the Secretary of State will meet with President Isaac Herzog, as well as with opposition leader Yair Lapid and with National Unity Party leader Benny Gantz, who just resigned from Israel's emergency wartime government. Gantz announced his withdrawal from the government last night, citing differences with Netanyahu's handling of the war with Hamas. The Times of Israel citing Gantz saying this was a complex and agonizing decision, but one that he had made for the good of the state of Israel. Gantz also called for early elections to be held this coming fall. Well, hateful anti-Israel protests were held outside the White House on Saturday, where thousands marched and chanted violent slogans, including calls for the killing of IDF soldiers and of Zionists. Congressman Richie Torres said when you live in a political culture that systematically dehumanizes quote-unquote Zionists, the eventual outgrowth of dehumanization is violence. History tells us that is so. Anti-Zionists who glorify the likes of Hamas and Hezbollah are perpetuating an ideology that embraces extremism and incites violence. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, said these protests weren't just marred by anti-Semitism, it was their defining feature. Chants called to kill Zionists, aka the overwhelming majority of American Jews. Others called for the death of Israeli soldiers. Signs and chants glorified Hamas, Hezbollah, and the October 7th massacre. Also noting anti-American slogans, asking where is the outrage? The Times of Israel cited White House Deputy Spokesperson Andrew Bates, telling them that President Biden has always been clear that every American has the right to peacefully express their views. But he has also always been clear that anti-Semitism, violent rhetoric, and endorsing murderous terrorist organizations like Hamas is repugnant, dangerous, and against everything we stand for as a country. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, June the 10th at 7 o'clock. It's episode 3 of the hit Israeli TV series Srugim. That's followed by Mike Butstyn speaking to the late Normal Lear. At 8, Abigail Pogrebin speaks to sisters Danielle and Galeet Dardashti about the Nightingale of Iran, their documentary podcast ranked #1 Jewish podcast this week, in which they reveal painful secrets and explore why their family left Iran in the late 60s at the height of national fame. At 8:30, CJA chefs Danny and Zoey make cheese blintzes with apple topping for Shavuot, wrapping their cooking lesson in the lessons of Torah and the harvest holiday. At 9, Sarah Esther Crisp and Rabbi Jeffrey Siegelman discuss the 10 Commandments. At 10, a look at creating art from Torah text. At 10:30, an encore of this newscast, and coming up next, it's Good Week, Israel. And a programming note for you. We invite you here on JBS to join us in celebrating the Jewish holiday of Shavuot, which begins tomorrow, Tuesday evening. Through Thursday, we will have live services from Central Synagogue, services from the Hampton Synagogue, and a marathon of Torah learning for the holiday. I will be back with the news update on Friday. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, June the 10th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.